Okay, here we are in part 6 of the Activatable and Inventory tutorial series. This time we want to finally discover how to actually add an item to our given inventory component. So for that, let's first start at the inventory folder I did, and we want to move out this item this item. Wait a moment, where can I see the whole? I want to have a list and I want to see this one. Yes, I want to move this item blueprint class into the activatable, since it's not part of the inventory but it's an activatable. So I'm sorry for that. So let's start making an item an activatable. So if you might remember, it was that we need to assign the iActivatable interface to an item. I did that by accident already, I'm sorry, but you know, clicking here, select iActivatable, and that's it. And now we have an item. So yeah, the first method was the getActivation tooltip text of an item. So each item will probably has a different name. So for this we can give our item class a new variable called item name. Make that an and maybe there are item names including spaces or something else, so I choose a text. And when we actually hit an item, we want to return that item's name and print it on our tooltip widget screen. So next thing we want to have is each item will probably have some kind of mesh. Yeah, let's choose a static mesh, whatever. And I don't quite know if this is already overlapping with something. Overlap all. Maybe this will work as well. It doesn't matter much. Okay, so now we are able to return an item name, and the next thing we want to do is actually add a new function to our interface and call that interact, for example, or activate. You could choose whatever you want. Yeah, this interaction has an instigator, so someone who is the initiator of that interaction. Instigator, which is some kind of an actor. Whoop, not an actor component, but an actor. Yeah, and we have no outputs, but we just want to interact with something. But the problem is now we can't see this new function interact here in this interfaces. I don't know quite exactly why that is, but I figured out that I have to give it an output. I just call it temp, and I don't care about the variable type it returns. But now I see that function here. It's kind of strange, but it works that way. Okay, so what we want to do now is, first of all, let's check the interact. We know that when a character like a player controller character or some kind of pawn want to interact with an item, he will probably wants to add this item to its storage. So we get the instigator, and check if he has an inventory component. Get components. Get components by class. Though there is, unfortunately, there isn't such a function that get component by class, where you can just check if there is one of these components, but I get a reference back of a list of components of that class. Inventory component. So I check if the instigator has inventory component. So, and yeah, I can say for each of those components I get, and it's probably null or 1, because it maybe it makes sense in some other games that a character has more than one inventory. For example, different inventories for different kind of objects. Some may store coins in a coins or weapons and herbs or whatever. For this one, you can come up with the conclusion to have different kind of inventory components. But let's just say we have at least one, and for this one we want to add an item. So, and the incoming item we want to add to this inventory is ourself. Okay. So now we need to call that interaction. And for this we want to go back into the third person character and get our input action mapping interact. So now we have quite some problem, because now I need to call the actor we last hit during an overlap event inside this one here, begin overlap. This actor we need to get now. So there could be a solution that we say, hey, I want to save that incoming actor, and said we store it by saying we have a last overlapping actor or something else, and say actor. So when we overlap with something, we want to set that actor, and when we end overlapping as we want to set that actor back to null. So it's a temporary reference we want to store, and I don't want to have that as a variable the whole time. So, but what we can do is we know whenever our sphere collision overlaps with something, it stores it inside the sphere collision component. So we can ask the sphere collision get overlapping actors. So yeah, this one would be cool if we would have done this in C++, so we could check by iActivatable. I don't quite know if this works now. Let's just see if it works. For each loop, and we want to print overlapping actors, and we want to display the name of that actor. Okay, so what I want to try now is for each object our sphere collision was overlapping with, we want to check if it's a kind of an iActivatable. So each blueprint which implements the iActivatable should be a return value inside this list here. So let's see if this works. Okay. Oop. What's wrong here? Oh, I'm sorry. You haven't seen this. Okay, first we need to overlap with something which is an iActivatable. So now we are overlapping, and when I hit E, it prints nothing. So it seems this casting intention I do here is not working in blueprints at all. But it's okay. Whoop. Now this one, I want to open this one. Let's do another test and check if it's empty or empty. Oh, come on. I should be able to check if an array is empty. Get the number of items in an array. Okay, we can do this way. We can check if this equals null. Branch on this and print yes. So when I hit E, I could even hit a breakpoint, but I like this printing. Okay, it prints out yes, so we this casting here fails. So I need to stay with an actor. So let's say we are redoing the stuff here for each. Print and get the actor name. Let's see what happens. And I hit E. Test actor and third person character. So now we know that our overlapping sphere stores ourselves. So our first one is the third person character, and the second one is the one we overlapping with. So somehow we now need to separate these overlapping actors from the one we are colliding with. Yes, since we do not implement the interface as the third person character, it should be fine for now, because otherwise we would need to do quite some stuff to do it in a proper way. We can just take this one and call interact from the iActivatable interface. So this will be called for our third person character, which does not call anything because we haven't implemented the interface. But it will of course call the one for the interactable we for the activatable we are interacting with. So for this one we call this, and so let's just check another thing, because a little drawback is what happens when I hit multiple interactables with one overlapping. So let's just say I have another cube here, or let's just show it. So what happens when we do this one here? Now we are overlapping with two activatables, and we only want to interact with one of them. So for this one you can think about if even line trace is a better solution to interact with objects. But there may be others you can choose. For example, we can look inside the sphere collision and on the collision presets. I can, if true, this component will generate individual overlaps for each overlapping physics body. So if false, this component will only generate one overlap, regardless of how many physical objects it has. So we are just overlapping with one at a time. Yeah, which is exactly what we want, okay? Yeah, and if we want to be able to overlap with multiple objects, we need to set that to true. Okay, but let's see. Yeah, so that we can finally see something, we need an item placed into the world, and when we want to interact with it, we want to add it to our inventory, which means we want to set it invisible in game. So get our item, give it a collision, and then let's see if this works as well. Give it some default cube here, and let's see if we can overlap with this kind of item. What I wanted to do, yeah, okay, I want to go into the interact function and say set actor hidden in game when we are entering it. New hidden, yes. Just a check. Oh, I need a. Let's place an item here. Okay, it's not overlapping at all with the static mesh, so we need it. Need a little box here. Okay, when I hit E, item pressed, I set this actor invisible in game. So this is one solution you could do it. So we see it in the next part. We could do actually in another way. Okay, see you next time.